So here today we are going to talk about and discuss about the product policy decisions. Product managers are confronted with the decisions pertaining to products. But these decisions have implications not only on the products, but these product decisions also has an implication to the company's future direction. So when you make a product decision, so you will also find that the top management take interest into that. And sometimes, or I will say many times, these decisions are policy level decisions, or these decisions are strategic decisions. So basically, there are three decisions we are first of all, before talking about these decisions or before covering about these decisions, I'm sure you are aware about the product line. So what is the product line? So product line is a group of products which are closely related. Why they are closely related? Because of certain considerations. What considerations? It can be the functional considerations, that one product line performs a particular function which is different from other product line. So maybe a product line, a company has a soap is different from detergent, right? And as we evolve, then you may today we also have the products like liquid detergents. So that is how the products are organized, and these products, when they are organized, we take into consideration the product line. So as I said, that function, it can be on the basis of different price range. So one product line for a low, for medium, for high, and for all these different three categories, a company has an option to have three different brands. So mostly you will find in apparels they follow a kind of a practice. So whenever you go to purchase an apparel in a store, so the store manager asks you like, what is your budget? So if you say a particular budget, he will take you to that section, right? So that is how it is organized on the basis of the price. Another way of classifying the product line is on the basis of the customer segment. So today it is not only about the mom and pop stores, that is where the company will be distributing, but today we also have the organized retail, and they play a role. Not only organized retail but e-tailing. So you may have, a company may have a product line, a separate product line for a normal type of distribution, which includes majorly the mom and pop stores, a separate product line for organized retail, and separate product line for e-tailing, right? And sometimes the product decisions, certain companies or certain mobile companies in the past, they have decided in their mind that they will only focus, or they will only sell their products only from e-tailing, not from other channels. So you can also classify on the basis of the channels. And then definitely the customer groups. So basically there are four ways in which you can classify. First is the function. Second is on the basis of the customer segment, different types of the customers. Then third is on the basis of the price, different price points. And fourth is on the basis of the distribution. Now it is up to the company like what product line, the way they want to organize, and the way the product line is organized, the company's structure, right? The way people have certain designations, that is also has a kind of a matching principle. So product line goes along with the organization structure, and it so happens that sometimes the focus of the organization undergoes a change, and as a result the organization structure also underwent a change. So this is how it is organized. Now there are three critical decisions that a with regard to the product, we can say the product policy decisions. The first is about the product mix breadth. So here the considerations are whether adding a product line or dropping a product line. So you are increasing the width by or decreasing the width by adding or deleting a product line, right? So when these decisions are made, that is based on certain factors. For example, we all know that today the trend is going towards the sustainability. So you have, and that is where you find companies coming out with the sustainability reports. People coming to natural products, people preferring organic products, people preferring herbal products. And that is where you find that certain companies which earlier didn't have the product line based on the herbal or the focus on the herbal, today these companies have the products with a herbal focus. And there are companies in India like Dabur or Patanjali which has all its product based on herbal or a natural focus, right? So this is how you are organizing. And why it is organized like this, because sometimes the companies feel that they can, they can manage their risk levels. Company like Indian Tobacco Company also faced a similar dilemma. So the name, as it suggests, it is about the tobacco. So if you go back before 20 years, you will find that 60% of the company's revenue was from the tobacco business. But today this Indian Tobacco Company, the 60% is from the non-tobacco. There may be certain factors, maybe there is an increase in tax, there is increase in activism, which and people, the consumer communities, they are up and against the tobacco, and they are keen that the taxes are increased, and they are also against consumption of the tobacco at public places. So it is very likely that the consumption of the tobacco cannot follow a upward trend. So as a company, you look for certain opportunities, and that is where the ITC came into the paper business, then into the food business, and now you will find that in the non-tobacco business, the company's employees, they are more than 70%. The company's capital is also more invested in the non-tobacco category. So it is very likely that in future the focus will be on the non-tobacco in the case of ITC. So here what you are trying to do is you are trying to de-risk or you are managing the portfolio. It is just like the way the mutual fund managers, the fund managers, they manage their funds. So on the similar lines, this is how the products are managed. Then the second is, when the companies have a particular type of the competencies and they want to extend these competencies into the other product line. For example, a company has a competency into the rubber technology and is into the tires. Maybe the company feels that the same technology can also be used for shock absorbers in construction industry, so they may come out with a different product line which is targeted to the construction business. And then the third is, company also wants to have a kind of a complement association, right? For example, Adobe is majorly into they acquired, the name of the company they acquired was Omniture. So they acquired Omniture, and with the consideration that there are certain capabilities that can be complemented. One is like Adobe was into the content creation, and this company which was acquired by Adobe, that is Omniture, was into marketing of content. So having this line, they feel that it creates gives the integrated approach, and customers are better served, right? So this is how the consideration for, in terms of, that is what we call this kind of decisions as a product mix breadth. I will repeat it. It is product mix breadth, right? So that is basically concerned with the addition or reduction in the product line. Maybe in certain businesses, when the trends are not in favor of a company may decide to drop a product line, okay, because they are not getting the expected the sales, that the expected revenues or the expected profits from that particular product line. So as a result, companies may decide to drop that product line, and company also feels that that product do not have a better prospects in the future. Next type of the product policy decision is concerned with the within a given product line, right? So maybe you have a products at different price points. So company may start with a premium price and may come down to a mass premium and then to a mass. For example, take the case of Procter & Gamble. When it was launched in India, it came with Ariel. So Ariel is a premium detergent soap brand, and thereafter it launched Tide into a mass premium category. So there may also be a company like Tata, which acquired Jaguar Land Rover, and from a mass premium category to a premium category. So a company can transition, that is transition from a premium category to a mass category, or from a mass category to a premium category. And there also may be a possibility that a company is in between and would like to move up and down, right? So that is what we can consider as this kind of notion can be considered as a product line fill. So it is upwards as well as downwards. So there are three ways in which you can move. One is the upward, we can say a stretch. Second is a downward stretch, and the third is the product line fill. So you can move up as well as down. So you started with the middle path or at the middle price point, and then you move also up and you move down. So these are the subtypes under the product line depth, right? Now, why a company does that? So there are several reasons for companies to opt for product line depth or to increase the product line depth. It can be due to the fact that there are customer segmentation is maturing, and there are super segmentation is happening, and there are new kind of niches which are developed, and company wants to serve that particular segment and they don't want to miss that, and that is the reason they come out with an option of increasing the product line depth. Also, they would also like to configure their offering to the particular segment. So they customize that offering to the particular segment. So that is also the reason that is to be considered for the product line depth. Then a competitive impact, right? So if a competition is taking any action, so definitely you are not working in a vacuum. So as a result, you are likely to respond to the competitor's reaction, right? And then maybe your own margins. So maybe there is a product line where the margins are not as expected and the margins are falling down. There is a lot of competition. So company will look for a better opportunities, and these opportunities may be to to maneuver with the product line depth. Also, the considerations can also be the brand equity. Also, whether when you decide that you will go upward or downward or a line filling, it's not that easy decision. For example, a customer who is purchasing a premium product and with the same brand the is launched into a mass category, so definitely it will impact the people who are, or the consumers or the customers who are associated with the premium category. And then there are the reasons like you want to increase the variety, and if you want to increase the variety, then it is also likely that company would like to take the advantage of the economies of scale in advertising, or maybe into a distribution, or into other resources which are utilized by the company. And then company maybe that may also come or emanate from the distributors will say that okay, you come into a particular product, or you change this, and based on those feedback, the distributors feedback, a company may take this decision. And then the last, the product policy decisions, that is that product manager will be associating with, will be the product item design. So there is one terminology which is used, that is stock keeping units. So stock keeping units, they are nothing but they are disaggregated levels of the product. So it is a kind of a, or we can say that stock keeping unit can also be item, right? And that is useful in terms of managing the inventory. For example, you may have a soap in different grammages, you may have a soap with different colors, you may have soap with different packages. So each variant is different, each of these variant is disaggregated, and that is what is termed as a product item, or it is also known as a stock keeping units or SKUs. So SKUs is the commonly used term with the business managers or with the product managers, and that is how the company is intending to ensure that they win or they have a winning products. And why they will have a winning products? Because of the reasons like, if those products are superior to the competitors, so definitely if there is a relative advantage as compared to what? The competitors. Second is, if they can solve a customer's problem which is not solved by the competitor's product, right? So then you become a winning product. Or it is also, you also come out with a product that offers a very good value for money to the customers. So at a reduced cost, at a reduced price, the customer is getting an advantage. That is what we call it as a value, which is, and we associate this value with the benefit. So customer is getting more benefit. And also in terms of that product is providing a excellent quality, and then the features, what kind of features? Features which the customers will find it as useful, and the benefits which the customers will find it highly visible. So these are the majorly the product policy decisions. I am sure now you'll definitely look around what kind of the changes that the company is taking, and then you can definitely respond to those changes, whether those changes looking into the historical perspective, whether in the present context were they right or wrong. Or you can also come out with your own suggestions, or you can come out with your own recommendations as well. And this product policy decisions is applicable to all type of companies, whether it is a service company, that is a service organization, or whether it is a product organization, or it is a combination of both, or if it is a startup, or if it is a government company. So for all types of companies, for all types of organizations, these decisions, they really matter, and you may find that if any wrong decisions are made in terms for product line, it can cost very heavily. So I am sure you will find this topic very interesting, and I am very sure that you will take keen interest in this subject or into